Divine Joy presents Dwadash Darshanacharya Mahamandaleshwar Swami Shri Kashikananda Giriji Maharaj, a gem of Advait philosophy. Swamiji was a realized master, inspiring guru, exceptional scholar, remarkable preacher, and explicit writer. Always regarded with great honor, Swamiji was conferred with the title of Ananta Shri Vibhushit, the one who is adorned with infinite respect. Let's take a look at the glorious life of Swamiji. He was born on 22nd August 1924, the auspicious day of Kerala Krishna Janmashtami, near the banks of river Thuta at Karvalmanna village in the state of Kerala. He was the youngest child of Sri Pothu Vattil Karunakaran and Srimati Lakshmi Kutti. From a young age, he used to visit the nearby temples where he heard stories from saints about their pilgrimages. This ignited an irresistible desire in him to visit such holy places. He decided to go to Kashi, the spiritual capital of India, at the tender age of 11. That time, he was studying in class 8, and one day, after returning home from school, he put down his bag and left home with just 8 to 9 annas. After walking close to 30 kilometers, he took shelter at a temple for the night. Next day onwards, he started walking along the railway tracks and sometimes also travelled by train. Enduring harsh weather and even extreme hunger at times, his travel continued. Passing through Chennai, Mumbai, Jabalpur along the way, he proceeded towards Kashi. From Kerala to Kashi, this journey of more than 2,000 kilometers had taken nearly 3 months to complete. When he finally reached Kashi, he took a dip in Ganga, consumed the holy waters, and felt deeply satisfied. Thereafter, he worshipped Lord Shiv at the Kashi Vishwanath temple. Then, from Kashi he started travelling towards Uttarakhand. The first destination was Naimi Sharanya and Mishrik. Then passing through Mathura and Vrindavan, he went to Haridwar and Rishikesh. Then finally to Badrinath and back to Haridwar. He next visited Rawalpindi, which was then a part of India, where he lived in a temple for about 6 months. There he learnt and memorized the entire Bhagavad Gita and Vishnu Sahasranam. In the early 1940s, he travelled to the Prayagraj Mela. Thereafter, he came back to Kashi, where his Yagnopavit or thread ceremony took place. Next, his journey took a turn towards South India. At Mysore, he met Sri Swami, whom he served for nearly 6 months, after which he received Mantra Diksha of Sri Vidya. He then embarked on a journey to the Kudachadri hills near the Mukambika temple in the state of Karnataka. He performed austerity alone for nearly 6 months in the hills. Once, due to heavy rains and hunger, he fell extremely sick and felt he may not survive. With firm faith, he surrendered to the goddess and lost consciousness. When his eyes opened, he found himself at the Sri Mukambika temple. There, he was blessed with the darshan of goddess Mukambika. On seeing the radiant and divine vision of the goddess, he was overwhelmed with joy. This was the turning point in his life. He went back to Haridwar in the quest for knowledge. He would spend the night in a temple premises or under a tree. Then a Mahatma gave him his cottage to stay. and at Basti Ram Sanskrit Vidyalaya, he started studying Sanskrit. Whatever he studied would get imprinted in his memory. Thereafter, in Rishikesh he studied at Sri Punjab Sindh Kshetra Sadhu Mahavidyalaya and mastered Sanskrit grammar. Subsequently, he continued his travels, walking barefoot to pilgrimages like Badrinath and Kedarnath. Later, he also visited the Vaishno Devi temple and Kailash Mansarovar. In the early 1950s, he returned to Kashi to study the scriptures and became a resident student at the famous Dakshinamurti Mutt. Thereafter, his guru, Swami Sri Narsingh Giriji Maharaj of Dakshinamurti Mutt, gave him sannyas diksha and the name of Swami Sri Kashikanand Giri. Kashi, being the city of knowledge, Kashikanand implies the one who is all-knowing and ever blissful. He continued his further studies at the Sampurnanand Sanskrit University at Kashi. With no electricity in those days, he studied under the light of an oil lamp. Once, while studying Nyaya Shastra, Swamiji observed an error in one of the chapters. He suggested corrections. However, it was met with strong resistance. To verify his claim, the original handwritten version of the book was called for, and it proved him right. Thus, even as a student, his understanding was impeccable, and he had the courage to make his point. Due to Swamiji's tremendous grasping power and extraordinary intelligence, along with studying various subjects, he also composed many verses and authored several texts. Later, his book Samanya Lakshana was included in the Nyaya Acharya syllabus at the very same university. During Nyaya Shastra exam, he answered all questions in Sanskrit verses, which he composed within just 2 hours. His answer paper, treated as a miraculous piece of literature, was framed and exhibited at the university. In 1958, he successfully completed masters in Vedanta, Nyaya, and other such subjects. The governor of Uttar Pradesh awarded him the Best Student title, as well as 3 gold and 1 silver medals. While Swamiji became the master of all philosophies, he chose to live by the Advait philosophy, the philosophy of oneness. To make its reach widespread, he traveled to different places and gave discourses. He gave discourses on various texts from the Vedas to the Puranas, the Valmiki Ramayana to the Bhagavad Gita, and so on. Sitting in a steady, upright posture with a focused mind, each session was usually 3 to 4 hours long without any breaks. To listen to his accurate and simplified discourses, people would come from near and far. The halls would overflow and the listeners would get completely engrossed. He was regarded as Paramahansa Parivrajakacharya, an enlightened teacher who gave countless discourses for the welfare of the world. In the early 1960s, the head of Sannyas Ashram at Ville Parle, Mumbai, invited Swamiji for giving discourses there. Eventually, he started giving discourses at various ashrams across Mumbai. To hear his powerful discourses regularly, certain people offered resources to set up an ashram in Mumbai. However, he refused to accept the same as he was against taking obligations. No matter what, he never compromised on his ideals. He continued his discourses, especially Bhagavad Saptah, across Mumbai, Ahmedabad, Amritsar, Kolkata, and various other places across India. Knowing the entire text by heart, he was the only one who would sing every verse of the Srimad Bhagavat Puran along with giving vivid description of the tales from the epic. His discourses exemplify the union of knowledge and devotion, a rarity amongst philosophers. With the collections received from these discourses, he chose to set up an ashram in an area where spiritual study was unavailable. Towards the end of 1963, he established the Anandvan Ashram, or the Forest of Joy, at Kandivali, West Mumbai. Being amidst nature brought him immense joy. Hence, he ensured the greenery is preserved at the ashram. Then a temple was built in the ashram premises. The idols were sculpted as per the sketches of deities made by Swamiji. Swamiji started the Gyan Yagna, an annual event spanning over 4 days at the ashram, which continues till date. Great saints from across the country are invited to give discourses, and hundreds of people come to gain knowledge. The first day is dedicated to discourses on karma, second to bhakti upasana, and third to Gyan. On the last day, the essence of the previous day's discourses is summarized and a bhandara lunch is arranged for everyone as prasad. In Swamiji's presence, food would never fall short, no matter how many people had prasad. Through the year, various festivals are magnificently celebrated at the ashram, be it Mahashivratri or Navratri, Ram Navami or Krishna Janmashtami. All arrangements were made under his supervision, and puja was done in the authentic traditional way and continues till date. People enthusiastically join the celebrations, and the ashram resonates with prayers and devotion. Mumbai became his abode. However, his travels continued, and he would attend almost every Kumbh Mela. He would take a dip in the holy waters, interact with saints from across the country, give discourses, as well as teach. In 1974, at the Haridwar Kumbh Mela, Niranjani Akhada gave him the post of Mahamandaleshwar, the highest designation in the spiritual community. There is a popular anecdote from one of the Kumbh Melas at Prayagraj about a debate on the topic, can non-Brahmins and women take sannyas? On the basis of scriptures, Swamiji affirmed that they can take sannyas, and it is expressed in detail in his book Sannyas Vidhi Vichar. In Kashi, he was famously known as Chalte Firte Shastra, in other words, living encyclopedia of scriptures. Great scholars would approach him to clarify doubts relating to the scriptures. With his vast ocean of knowledge, he would effortlessly satisfy every query. His answers were precise yet comprehensive. His words are considered invaluable and authoritative even today. Curious students from various places would come to study several subjects from him. He only accepted diligent and dedicated disciples. The rule was to thoroughly study whatever was taught before the next class, else he would not proceed further. His teaching was such that all doubts would disappear. In early 1988, Swamiji set off on a tour to South India along with saints for Bhagwan Sri Adi Shankaracharya Ji's 1200th birth anniversary celebration. Along the way, he gave discourses in Sanskrit at various places amongst great scholars. Finally, he reached Kaladi in Kerala, the birthplace of Sri Adi Shankaracharya Ji. As always, the fluency of his discourses was as though a river of knowledge was flowing from him. Later, in the same year, his book titled Dwadash Darshan Sangra was published. It contained about 100 Sanskrit verses composed by him on each of the Indian philosophies along with their Hindi translation. He was bestowed with the title of Dwadash Darshanacharya, the master of all 12 Indian philosophies. He was truly one of a kind in recent times to have such a deep understanding of all the subtle philosophies. In 1990, a debate was held at a temple in Bangalore between the Dvait and Advait philosophers. In the presence of many scholars, Swamiji was invited to represent the side of Advait philosophy. During the debate, he established the supremacy of the Advait philosophy. Yet, on the last day, he emphasized that engaging in disputes is a waste of time and is detrimental to both sides. With this, the program was concluded. However, the debate continued via exchange of letters for 3 more years. In 1993, a detailed letter was sent by Swamiji, to which there was no response by the Dvait philosophers. After the continued silence of Dvait philosophers for 5 more years, all ensued arguments were published in his book titled Advait Vijaya Vaijanti. For his immense knowledge and courage, the scholars and saints began addressing Swamiji as Kanan Kesari. Kanan means forest and Kesari means lion. Just as the lion lives fearlessly as the king of the jungle, Swamiji, with his extraordinary command over all philosophies and scriptures, was considered the king of the forest of knowledge. During that time, Swamiji gave around 150 discourses on the Gayatri Mantra over a span of 5 months. He also wrote an exhaustive commentary on it, for which the Sanskrit Sahitya Academy of Uttar Pradesh felicitated him and also presented an award of rupees 1 lakh. Similarly, Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan also awarded him rupees 1 lakh as a token of appreciation and gratitude for his literary contributions. Various institutions felicitated Swamiji with many such awards and rewards. He directed the rewards received towards the publication of books. In March 1995, the ashram building was being renovated. On one of those days, Swamiji had a powerful intuition and immediately asked everyone to vacate the building. Soon thereafter, the entire building collapsed. However, there were no casualties and the temple remained undamaged. Unfortunately, many of his handwritten, unpublished books were destroyed, and the discourse hall was no more. While everyone was shocked by the incident, Swamiji remained unshaken and chanted Vedic mantras. In the evening, he sat under a tree and continued the daily discourse as usual. His life was truly a reflection of the knowledge he preached. Around the year 2000, he established another Anandvan ashram at Kankhal, Haridwar on the banks of river Ganga. Later, a temple was also built there. The temple has a unique Panchakoshatit Parabrahma Shivling and several other deities. A few years later, Swamiji was afflicted with herpes, but his writing continued. Concerned about his well-being, a student asked him, "Why don't you rest? Why are you still writing?" He answered, "Herpes is in my stomach and back, so why should the hand stop its work?" This left the student speechless. Having mastered his mind, he could rise beyond the physical pain. In 2003, he authored Upanishad Sangra, a summary of the 108 Upanishads compiled in 3 volumes. Giving credit to Swamiji only as an editor, a publisher tactfully took away his authorship. Yet, he refused to take any action because he believed his purpose was served as long as knowledge reached the public and enriched them. From January 2006 Swamiji started giving discourses on Brahma Sutras every Sunday morning for 1 hour. It took him a total of 90 Sundays to complete the explanation of the first sutra, consisting of only 4 words. This exemplified his perfection. He received several offers for media coverage which he turned down, stating that he was not saying anything new, but just reiterating the knowledge of the scriptures. Swamiji was a legendary scholar, and yet there was no glimpse of ego in him. Swamiji was full of compassion and empathy. One of his devotees cooked and brought him lunch on time every day. Around the year 2010, one day he waited for her at the usual time, but she did not turn up. He inquired and found out that her husband had sustained a fall and had to be rushed to the hospital. Immediately, he sent 2 or 3 of his disciples to the hospital for her moral support and help. He would go out of the way to help his devotees and disciples. Swamiji led a life of simplicity and discipline, rejecting luxurious comforts and donations at times. He lived in a small room at the ashram. He would wake up daily at 3 a.m. during the Brahma Muhurat and remain absorbed in meditation. At sharp 6 a.m., his doors would open every day. He would then worship at the ashram temple, followed by a morning walk for half an hour. From 7:30 to 8 a.m., it was time for him to read newspapers and then have breakfast. Next, he would give a 1 hour's lecture and then teach his students from 10 to 11 a.m. Afterwards, he would be immersed in writing and then have lunch at 11:30 a.m. Subsequently, he would rest for just 10 minutes and resume writing. Every evening, there was discourse from 5 to 6 p.m., followed by Shiv Mahimna Stotra and Aarti for about an hour at the ashram. He would then interact with the devotees who visited the ashram and give everyone prasad. He had dinner at 8:30 p.m. and slept at 10 p.m. Swamiji lived his life selflessly writing, preaching, and teaching. He was indeed a writer whose texts unlocked the treasures of sacred scriptures for its readers, a preacher whose words immersed the listeners in the ocean of knowledge, and a teacher whose teachings answered all questions without being asked. Each time he expressed his thoughts, be it spoken or written, it was as if Goddess Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge herself, manifested through him. Around October 2014, Swamiji went to the Haridwar ashram. Before leaving Mumbai, he had indicated that he would not return thereafter. On 24th October 2014, the day of Kartik Pratipada, at the age of 91, he attained Samadhi on the banks of river Ganga as per his desire. Many Mahatmas, scholars, disciples, and devotees from across the country assembled at Haridwar to pay their homage. On the next day, with complete rituals and highest honor, he was given Jal Samadhi in the Ganges. Swamiji is still with us through his 200 plus texts. He has composed about 60,000 Sanskrit verses and written commentaries on several scriptures. While every work is a masterpiece, some texts like Tattvamasi, Upanishadic commentaries, Bhagavad Gita pravachans, Dasha Shanti mantras, and Om Namah Shivaya have been extremely popular. Never after popularity, he always asserted that his books will do his propagation. To carry forward his legacy, during his lifetime, Swamiji had chosen Mahamandaleshwar Swami Shri Monanand Giriji Maharaj as his successor. In early 2020, on the auspicious day of Vasant Panchami, the Pran Pratishtha of Swamiji's idol took place at the Anandvan Ashram, Mumbai. It was preceded with a Bhagavad Sapta, wherein the devotees out of their love made it a grand celebration. Distinguished saints also graced the occasion. On the last day, thousands of people visited for darshan and had prasad. Swamiji's divine presence and grace is and will always be with us. Words cannot describe your infinite splendor. At your lotus feet, we completely surrender. It is the grace of God and blessings of Swamiji that we received the inspiration to create this video. This video is a humble attempt to share Swamiji's glorious life and work with the world. The information has been gathered from the anecdotes expressed by Swamiji himself and experiences shared by distinguished saints, Swamiji's reverend disciples, and beloved devotees from across India. We express our deepest gratitude to everyone who has given their time, put in efforts, and provided support to create this video. We do not intend to hurt the sentiments of any individual, community, sect, or religion. However, if it has accidentally happened, we sincerely apologize for the same. Please share this video and subscribe to our channel Divine Joy 365. To watch this video in Hindi, you can click the video on the left. And to see our other videos, you can click the right one. Thank you.